Swimming World Cup 2025.
Ed è partito il countdown, ormai meno di 40 secondi andremo a presentare i protagonisti e le protagoniste della staffetta 4x1500 metri. Prendete posto in tribuna, pronti allo show della World Cup Golfo Aranci 2025.
Let's meet the teams for the mixed relay final.
Signore e signori, i protagonisti e le protagoniste della staffetta mista 4x1500 metri.
Mesmac Delacroix, Mesmac Analouvier, France 2. Denigan, Puskovic, Travis and Gravely, please welcome Team United States. Wang, Liu, and Huang, please welcome Team Chinese Taipei 2. Sobral, Melecki, Brande Macedo, and Cunha, please welcome Brazil.
Bozzomone, Gabrieleschi, Filadelli, Giovannoni,
Please welcome Team Italy 2. Please welcome Jacobs, Irwin, Milbaugh and Sherman. This is United States 2.
Well, a very good morning once again from the Sardinian coastline. We're back here in Golfo Aranci for day 2 of the World Aquatics Open Water World Cup Final. And as you can hear, the athletes are already being introduced for the mixed 4x1500m relay. I'm Will Rollo, joined once again by Olympian and the voice of the World Cup Series, Alice Deering, as we get set for one of the most tactical and unpredictable events on the open water racing calendar. Yesterday's champions Logan Fontaine and Ginevra Tarauchi lead the way in their individual 10Ks, and today they focus now turns to teamwork, pacing and precision. Alice, we saw just how physical and fast the racing was yesterday. How do we change that intensity, and how does it carry over when you're part of a 4-person relay? The margin for error is almost nothing.
Hey, yes, absolutely. You know, the relay is where there's a lot of fun and a lot of excitement, but also like added pressure. You know, you're really competing for your teammates here, and you want to put out your best performance and really carry and make sure that you can do something that you can be proud of. So you need to make sure you get your tactics right, you listen to your coach, you listen to your team, and you execute that. And you trust in your teammates' ability to also do their part as well. And hopefully you can make some magic at the end.
A host of teams will be looking at that gold medal as we see mostly female athletes on the start line. I think Chinese Taipei, one of the only teams sending off their males first, so expect them to hit the on. But the reigning champions from last year, Italy, loom as the large favorites, especially after a performance like Tarauchi performed yesterday.
Yeah, certainly. And, you know, I just want to throw in there Hungary. I was looking at the team list. You know, we've got 2 Italian teams, 2 French teams. That's really interesting. I'm sure we'll speak about that shortly, but really, really exciting. And I think we have a male from America as well, so we'll be expecting him to put out some good speed.
So there it is, the start line ready and raring We have 12 teams set to take to the water for the final time. Stop 4, and we are underway in Golfo Aranci, the mixed 4x1500 relay. It's been an absolute sight for sore eyes to see it return once more to the World Cup Series. We've only raced it once this year in Sommer Bay. Germany took the win there. Now to take a gold on day 2 of action in Golfo Aranci, and as to be expected, Chinese Taipei hit the lead early. They've always been strong supporters of the mixed 4x1500 relay, and it's playing out that way early on. Alice, you mentioned Hungary, the Italians, the 2 French teams, the Spaniards, in fact, and of course Team USA, Brazil in there as well, all contending for an eventual gold medal, hopefully for those federations. Hungary's a good shout, of course, but it's hard to go past. You know, I was looking at the 2 French teams. I couldn't tell if there was a Team A or Team B, or if they were just trying to split the talent across the 2.
Yeah, that was what was really interesting. I think I am leaning towards France 1 as being the one where they have probably taken the performances off of the 10K and then created the team from that. But that, I think it just shows the depth that France is able to field, that you genuinely can't split between France 2 and France 1. So I think that's going to be really exciting. But of course, both of the Italian teams are also really kind of in a league of their own. You know, Italy won with Linda Caponi, had a great swim yesterday. Ginevra Teraducci, of course, taking home that win. Marcelo Guidi and then Dario Veroni at the end. I mean, that's a really, really tough team to beat. They're definitely, definitely one of the favourites to keep looking out for. But just at the moment, this is our American swimmer. I believe this is Colin Jacobs from USA. So yeah, great to see not a name which we've spoken about on the broadcast before. So looking at future talent for open water, I believe, and it looks like he's having a great swim so far.
I think the USA team have decided to send in an age group team and an open team. So Colin Jacobs, just 17 years of age, he leads off for the USA. What would be considered the junior team, Mariah Denigan leading off for the senior team, handing over to Ivan Puskovic on that second leg. So the Americans going back to what they used to. They've won a world championship title in this similar fashion. They went girl, boy in that race, and that's what they've entered in today. Alice, I made a comment before that it's good to see the 4x1500 meter mixed relay back in action. That, of course, being the introduction of the 3 kilometer knockout. We've seen that replace this race at the World Cup stops, but in Golfo Aranci, we have the absolute privilege of seeing both races take to the water today.
Yes, this is so exciting. You know, the last time we saw this race at the World Cup Series was back in Sommer Bay, and to have it here now where we have both the relay and then the 3K knockout, yes, the swimmers will be feeling this. They will be tired. It will be a tough day of racing, but there's so many medals to contend for, so many great moments where you can put yourself out there and really create something positive for yourself, for your country, like we're seeing with Colin Jacobs at the moment. So, you know, a junior, only 17 years of age, we'll be really hoping to see him in action at the World Juniors in 2026, and I'm sure that is what he's aiming for as well.
Yeah, that looks like what he's trying to do here is cement his position at the front and cement his position on the team. How good is this Sardinian coastline, Alice? We saw it in action yesterday. The conditions didn't quite deliver, in fact, yesterday, but here we are, looking much better out in front, and you can see why this has become a stop that everyone wants to come and race at.
Absolutely. Look how beautiful and stunning this is. You know, yesterday in the men's race, we kind of had some issues with the weather. I was actually messaging Hector Pardo at the end of it, and apparently there was worries that it might be called off because of lightning. So I think there was a little bit of trepidation from the athletes on that front, but really fortunate that the sun has came out today. Look at these shots. Absolutely stunning, and what a place to be able to swim for your country and in a relay in a relay. I think that's what's really special about this. I'd always say I'm sad that I can't ever be a relay swimmer because I'm never going to be fast enough in the 200 or of course the 100 in the pool. But having this opportunity as open water athletes to be a relay swimmer for your country for a 1500 is very, very special.
And as we get this shot here of Colin Jacobs leading the race, we can see a little bit of a gap opening up between third and fourth, just behind Jacobs. I think you mentioned earlier, Alice, as we have this overhead shot once again, you can see just to the left of the screen the chase group really trying to work hard. But you look at the Hungarian team, they've really back-ended their team. They've sent off Napsugar Nagy to lead off their team before Victoria Mihalvari Farkas hands over to David Bethlehem and Krzysztof Rozowski.
Yes, yes. So when we get an opportunity to look at the chase pack, it'll be really interesting to see where are the women sat from the Italian teams, from the French teams, from the Hungarian team as well, because there's going to be so many tactics going on within that. And, you know, we see it very often that it's so important that your women, if you put them up front, they need to keep contact with everybody else. We've seen instances, I believe, at the World Champs recently, where teams that we were expecting to be really punching for the top, if their female athlete lost contact with the other female athletes, it became very, very difficult for their men afterwards to get in and create that ground and make it up. So it is absolutely important. But Colin Jacobs at the moment having a beautiful swim. He's got a great technique. He's looking very strong, putting out some really strong efforts. So absolutely fantastic that we are able to see and support this. But moving back to the chase pack, when we get a chance to look at that, I am really excited by that. I'm hoping that we're seeing, as you said, the Hungarian team up at the front with both the Italians and the French. And it's really interesting that we have an opportunity for two French and two Italian teams. There's definitely going to be some rivalry between them, but at the moment, Colin Jacobs holding a league of his own.
And if you look at the Brazilian team as well, Alice, they've decided to send off Lizanne Sobral first. Matias Malechi will go second. Leonardo Brandt de Macedo will go in third, the junior champion from yesterday, and Ana Marcela Cunha will go last. So trying to change up the order, that's what we like to see about this relay, is it comes down to those different tactics. And ultimately, I guess, talk to us about the position of that third swimmer as it currently stands. You can see just at the top of your screen now, swapping back to Colin Jacobs. But as the female athletes in this race, especially when there are male swimmers around you, you really need to maximize your time in that draft.
Yes, definitely. So the position of the third swimmer, so as you were saying with the Brazilian team, they have got a man in that position. So they've gone female, male, male, female. And I always think you kind of base your team around who's good at getting in at the start, who's good at getting stuck in, making that happen, and, you know, especially for the women, sticking in that pack. And then you need to think about the end as well. Who's good in the finish? Not all swimmers are have the best finish. They might be like a workhorse. They might be really good at getting in and doing those hard meters. And the hard meters do happen in every single leg, but they particularly happen in legs 2 and 3, because that's where it's you don't really get any of that glory, don't get any of that satisfaction as much. It's hard work. You need to make things happen in those moments and hand over to somebody who you trust in their ability to get their fingers on the touchpad first. And not every swimmer always has that capability. There are some swimmers that just really have that spark. Ana Marcela Cunha is one of those swimmers who has that spark. She knows how to finish and finish well. So taking that opportunity to potentially put her last and then put your men in the middle and get them to do some hard work and create that opportunity for Ana Marcela Cunha to get in and hopefully get a medal for Brazil will be really exciting.
Yeah, it's an interesting tactic. I think, Team USA, Team Brazil, they've both tried something different, something that we haven't necessarily seen at the World Cup stops this year. And I think, we look back to last year, the champions, of course, the Italian team, that was their first gold medal that they won here in Golfo Aranci, and they only won it by 0.9 of a second ahead of the Germans, where they had Nicholas Fruck on the anchor for them, and For the men, the bronze medalists, the men ending that were David Bethlehem and Krzysztof Rozowski himself. So it's there isn't any one right way to race this. I guess it just comes down to working extremely hard. And as you said yesterday, Alice, this event, this 4x1500 meter relay, is one of the hardest events you can possibly do.
Yeah, thank you. Just to speak to the tactics real quick, in terms of like that, the having the men in the middle and the women either side, the issue with that is the fact that the men have to create that distance between the other women. They have to create that distance between the pack. Is if they have like any woman that's able to hang on to them and put in some really hard meters and take herself to somewhere where she might not have even been sure she's capable of going to. Their effort and using them as the faster swimmers is completely voided. It's pointless at that point. You might as well have put a woman in who could have just swam with that woman, and they stuck together and then saved that man for that end leg. So it is risky, it is something different, but at the same time, I think if you know that putting your women against the other country's women and your men against other countries' men is going to get a certain result, I think why not switch it up, try something different. You might as well try something that you think, oh, we've got a chance at, instead of going with what might get you 4th or 5th. But at the moment, I think Colin Jacobs' lead wasn't lengthening, and this is where it's quite nice that Chinese Taipei, for example, have put in a male athlete. It gives the female athletes from the other countries somebody to kind of like hold on to, and you can see them starting to fragment a little bit there, taking their own lines, and can't quite pick out who is who in those packs, but taking very different lines from Colin Jacobs as well, as we can see.
I was going to say, it almost looked like Brooke Travis leading off for the USA instead of Mariah Denigan with that pink tape on the cap. I'm not sure. Trying to do some research to know exactly who it is, but as always, Alice, we really appreciate when athletes do have those identifiable factors when they come to race day.
Yes, definitely. I always shout out David Bethlehem for just wearing the bottoms and not the full suit. Makes it really easy to pick him out, especially in a sea of white caps with black writing. And of course, we can pick out stroke technique, but sometimes that's much harder because there might be waves, there might be chop, and there's white water everywhere, so it's really difficult to pick out a specific sort of stroke technique. But yeah, and it's always a little bit easier with the relay when there's fewer countries, fewer people in the water at once, and it's very obvious who's leading at the moment. And when we get into that pack, we'll be able to start to pick out some caps.
And we continue to stay with Colin Jacobs up in front. Alice is a 17-year-old, a youngster on the USA team. I guess if he does watch this back, we've got a great insight into his technique here. What do you think? Like, break down the stroke for those watching around the world at the moment.
Yes, this is what's really exciting. He's only 17 years of age. I think his stroke will continue to develop as he gets older, as he gets stronger. Your body changes and you'll start to be able to do different things with your stroke, activate different parts of your muscles and be able to get that stronger pull. But at the moment, he looks really good. He's got a really smooth line. He swims forward. I know that sounds really silly, like everyone swims forward, but there's no snaking at all. He's got a very strong core that's clearly a lot of work has gone into that and making him set. And it's really challenging to be able to swim off by yourself like this. Mentally and physically it is challenging, but then also the tactics and technical parts of sighting and trusting your lines, making sure it's going well. So he's looking good, looking strong, and I really hope he's enjoying this moment. As tough as it is really special to be able to like swim off the front of a pack for the relay like this.
And yeah, I'm sure it would be a greatly sort of appreciated moment for Colin Jacobs and the team that he has as well. Like, we go through Jackson Irwin to come next. He's only 16 years of age. Ollie Milburn will be in the third leg, and Micaiah Sherman will come last. So everyone in that team, 18 and under. And I guess what we saw last year at the World Junior Championships, the USA team really, so there it is, Brooke Travis is actually on the beach. So good to get that confirmation that they've had a bit of a change. Mariah Denigan, who you can just see on the left of screen there, is swimming the first leg for USA. and interesting to see that there's some gaps opening up behind them. But for now, as we're talking about, the USA have really started investing in the junior pathway for open water swimming and swept all 3 gold medals in the World Junior Championships last year, Alice, which was a phenomenal performance across all age groups.
Yes, 3 gold medals in the girls' races, the 5, the 7.5, and the 10. It was really, really special to watch. And then, you know, we were treated to that Claire Weinstein 3K knockout, like masterclass. Essentially, you know, it's the first time the 3K knockout was raced ever, and it's always great that the juniors are the testing ground for that. I will say the mixed relay was also swam for the first time at a junior race in 2016, and that was the first ever instance of it. So I really like the inclusion of having the juniors be kind of the pioneers in that way, and we're seeing that with USA at the moment. And you're so right about that investment. It's so important to, yes, you want to think about, you know, giving your seniors opportunities, but it has to start with your juniors. You need to get them in, get them racing, get them some good open water experience. And, you know, not all of those experiences are going to be pretty, not all of them are going to be enjoyable, but if there's drive, if there's talent, and if there's passion to want to do it, then it's worth investing in. We're just getting some sight of the chase pack at the moment. Got the Italian, the French, USA, both French teams stuck in there, so that's really good. Both Italian teams too. So I think this is about what we expect, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this shapes up leading into the second leg.
One of the factors that we saw impact the back end of yesterday's racing as well, that home crowd will start to come into it for the Italians, so we wait to see exactly who it is. I believe Linda Caponi leading off, so potentially a bit of a battle there between Denigan and Caponi at the front of the chase group. But for now, Alice, we pay respects to this performance that we've seen from the young American Colin Jacobs, committed from the very first stroke. He led at the first turn, and here he is handing over to Jackson Irwin to hold on the lead for Team USA. The youngsters showing everyone how it's done. Colin Jacobs hands over as Jackson Irwin heads into the water. The 16-year-old has an opportunity to lead the world here in Golfo Aranci. For now, though, we turn our attention to the chase group as they come down to finish off lap 1 as well. We expect to see Mariah Denigan. We expect to see Caponi as well in there for Italy. The big one to keep an eye on, where is Nagy of Hungary, and who are the following swimmers from that point. But this is a bigger lead than I expected. The USA still hold the water by themselves, and now we see our second swimmer come through. Italy 1, that is Caponi. Spain up there, no surprises. France as well, Italy 2, USA 1, Denigan, that is Chinese Taipei rounding out, and Hungary all in the mix. That is a very important leg there for Napsuga Nagy of Hungary to keep.
Yes, yeah, everything with that. Gosh, there's so much to pick out there, isn't there? So that gap from Colin Jacobs was much larger than I was anticipating. You know, it's so hard to tell distance over water sometimes. And when we were watching him swim, I was like, oh, I'm thinking maybe 20 or 30 seconds, but a 40-second gap is so impressive. So I'm really hoping he feels proud of himself there. I imagine he's probably in the 3K knockout, so hopefully he gets out, gets some good rest, and he's going to have the most rest for anybody from to the men's race, which is quite a funny way to think about it. But anyway, looking into that pack, you're so right about Nagy from Hungary. Put out a really good leg there and really kept Hungary in that contention for that opportunity. We turn now to Irwin of America, and hoping that he can continue his teammates' amazing effort as he goes through, and just getting some feedback from Colin Jacobs with his coach here. With French coach, actually. I don't know, probably just chatting to each other about how things went. And this is a great example of open water swimming, right? It's chatting to other countries, giving feedback. You know, it's not seen as like, oh, I don't want to give information because they might use it in this way. It's just very friendly. It's very open. Everybody's just like wants everybody to do well. And of course, there's rivalry in the water. Of course, there's rivalry. There's passion, but there's also a sense of camaraderie there too, which everybody buys into and respects. So yeah, as we take it forward, it's looking good for Irwin of America. Again, I really love that the Americans have put out this junior team, and we see Possible getting her transponders taken off, and ooh, there's some red skin there, some really hard efforts.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what you said. It's not an easy race. It's not, although much shorter than the 10-kilometer distance. It's equally as hard. Some bigger missions that we saw at the end of that lap there. We didn't have Brazil in that chasing group, so means Malechi is going to have to do a lot of work to catch up here, and then Leonardo Brandt de Macedo is going to have to really put the jets on to extend that lead for Ana Marcela Cunha. Out in front is Erwin, and we expect to see the likes of Ivan Puskovic starting to make his way through the field as well. So out in front, that still is Erwin. He looks so strong in his stroke there. He's doing a great job.
Yeah, both of these USA men, have looked really, really good, really strong. It's really nice that we're getting treated to, I think, hopefully some of the athletes that we'll probably see at the World Juniors coming up in 26. I keep speaking about it because I'm just like, guys, when it comes out, when it's happening, please do go watch it. There is of course a direct translation of who's winning at juniors, who's in the mix at juniors, not necessarily always winning, but who's in the mix at juniors and translating through to the senior stage. And it's really great that we're able to support these athletes and highlight and showcase them at their earliest stages in this sport and see their development as athletes is always really exciting to witness.
So what we just saw on screen there, Alice, of course, Sasha Veli leading out Ivan Puskovic. They're chasing down that 40-second lead that Erwin has held from Jacobs in that first lap. So I didn't actually even pick up that Veli was on that second leg. That makes things very interesting. Caroline Juiz did an incredible job to get Veli in the water ahead of the field. And if you look through the teams now, Clemens Cocodano will go third for the French, and for Team USA, Brooke Travis is to come. So this is where it starts to get very interesting. We go to our chase group now, the Italians with none other than Ginevra Tarauchi in the water. Spain as well, represented by Di Valdez on this. Angela Martinez in for second. Di Valdez went first. And it's almost a bit of, the French and the USA team, they don't want to be fighting. They almost work together here to swim as fast as possible to try and open up this big gap.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is where if you have put a man on a leg where it's traditionally a woman, so be that the first or the second, you have to capitalize and maximize every bit of water that you are given. So like 1500 meters, yes, it's long relatively, but it's very short for open water swimmers. You can't be wasting time fighting, and exactly what you said, that's what they're doing. You've got Sasha Veli going for it and tucked in behind them, the USA swimmer, and they're just going to want to make as much distance and catch up the American in front of them, but also create as much distance between them and the chase pack of the women as much as possible. That is what is absolutely key. And if they potentially do we think that's Erwin, the swimmer out there? Do you think that's Erwin?
Yeah.
Do you think they're potentially
I think
overtaking
Erwin's still... it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell, I guess. I mean, Sasha Veli is looking absolutely rapid, which comes at no surprise. Interesting to note, as we mentioned, the French team too, not in contention really. They've fallen off. That means that Marc-Antoine Olivier is not really going to be fighting for medal contention at the end of this race because he's swimming in that second team. But they do have, of course, Cocodano and Fontaine to anchor that team. The Americans sitting strongly, of course, they have Puskovic in the water, Travis, and then Gravely to come on the anchor there. So you'd be favouring the French based on the sort of stocks that they have to come. But another one that I wanted to point out, Alice, is we see just before the chase group, or the main chase group now, chasing down what is Sasha Veli and Puskovic out in front, is the Italians have two teams. Now, they can only claim one medal, and the two teams on the anchors, Italy Team 2 have Andrea Filadelli and Ivan Giovannoni, and Team 1 have Marcelo Guidi and Dario Varani. Like, I mean, you'd be happy with any of those combinations. Like, they're so lucky, and sort of the question then being, do you think we haven't really seen anyone teaming up in the 10-kilometer distance on a federation basis. But do you think there's the chance we see that in the relay?
Ooh, I don't know. I think both the Italian teams will say, hey, there's only one medal that we are able to claim. I want my team to have it. So I don't think there'll be any like, oh no, okay, I'll make this happen for you. Then you can slingshot past me and like you go take the medal. I don't think so, and I hope not. I do hope not, because it's both teams are strong. Both teams are capable of winning medals. So I would love to see both teams say, okay, no, let's contend for this. Let's see who is the best team. Yeah, that's what I think. I think my competitive nature comes out a bit too much to try and make any teamwork like that in open water swimming. But hey, maybe one day.
I mean, to be fair, most federations would be absolutely blessed to have a swimmer of the caliber of Giovannoni or Philadelli anchoring their team, and the fact that they're swimming in Team 2, you're so right, they would not be stoked about that. They'd be having all eyes on, beating Team 1 and almost proving to the selectors that they deserve that top spot. Here we have our chase group, and I think you were right, Alice. The top two men have now gone past our Team USA that was leading through Irwin the early part of lap 2. But here we have now the new lead, Sashavelli out in front. Behind him, Ivan Puskovic. Puskovic, he's had a sensational 18 months racing at the Olympic Games, but also at this year's World Championships, Alice, where you called it so perfectly. He's not necessarily the typical open water swimmer, but what he lacks in, I guess, your expected standards, he makes up for with that x-ray of the dog in his chest, You
are so right. Yeah, he's just got that fire in him. He's got that fight in him. You can see, I think it's like just a typical like American passion in that way of like being really proud of being able to represent America for a start, but then also wanting to take that opportunity and keep that opportunity and see what he can do with it. So yeah, had a fantastic showing in the 3K knockout at the World Championships. Is an Olympian, as you said, which is always something there's such a cool accolade to be able to claim. So it's great to see his continual growth in the sport, and hanging on to Sashavelli at the moment and putting America in a really strong and cool opportunity. If the French 1 team has gone with a tactic like this, then this is going to open up a really amazing opportunity for USA. If they can have both of these female swimmers from France, from America, create something special between the two of them and really keep driving forward, the medals could be slipping further and further away from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, we've seen different federations enter different tactics, but never usually lining them up against each other. We saw, at the World Champs, there was a bit of, quiet secret squirrels business to determine exactly which order, and that's to be expected. The World Championship on the line, but almost setting up this team effort between France and the USA, because ultimately, if they can stay in this position all the way to the last lap, then opens up a battle between Fontaine and Gravely down the final straight. That's the best possible situation. If they can enter the water with a gap to the likes of Krzysztof Rozalski, it's going to make it very interesting. And I think a lot of the teams have entered expecting quite a physical last lap on the final lap, of course. And that's why there's a lot of strong athletes like Rozovsky, like Varani, like Gravely as well. You go through the teams, there's so much strength on that last lap that if you are able to enter the water with a bit of a gap, I don't think you're going to be fighting the same speed that we'd be expecting if Marc-Antoine Olivier or Florian Waldbrock were in the water.
Yes, I know what you mean. You can see that even with Ana Marcela Cunha being the last swimmer for Brazil as well. There's an expectation for, for like a close finish. And I think this is what's quite interesting, because everybody's gone with that viewpoint. France and America by saying, okay, if that is what is going to happen, why don't we try and do something a little bit different, create some chaos within ourselves in putting men second and then having a woman to, like, you know, get in, really hold on, hopefully keep that distance, and then potentially, if even if we do get eaten up, there's still Logan Fontaine at the end, who we know is very good in the finish arc at getting his fingers on the touchpad and making things happen. So I do really like the strategy from Francois, and I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think this is what's so fun about the relay. It's not just like, oh, okay, it's going to be exactly the same as what we did at Worlds. You have to kind of read the room, understand what other countries are doing. You've also got, you had the 10K the day before, you've also got the 3K knockout in a mere like a few hours time, so you kind of need to understand like that is also in play. It won't necessarily affect decisions, but it's just something that you have to like think about and be aware of, because other countries might be like, oh, okay, we'll put this person to protect them a little bit more or something like that. So yeah, there's so many tactics that have gone into it, and so much thought from the coaches and the swimmers as well.
And I guess that's the beauty of it. This at this stage of the season, it's almost house money that they're playing with to try and give it a crack. And Tarauchi would be absolutely thrilled with how this has played out. Matthias Malechi has come through and now has put Brazil in a point of the race where they are almost creating a little bit of drag, but it's created another level of chaos. So Chinese Taipei, I believe, oh no, sorry, that's Team USA Urban that sits fourth there. And now Ginevra Tarauchi is actually separated away from the chase group as well. So there is the potential here for Italy, if they can get Marcello Guidi, who is one of those extremely fast athletes, Alice. He isn't afraid of a sprint finish, but he also swims really well in open water. So I think Italy, looks sensational. So we see now that's getting confirmation of the chaser, Jackson Owen, and Puskovic pushing up onto the hip. The Frenchman out in front, Sashavelli, would not be a big fan of that.
No, this is what's fun about it. You know, he's like sat there, he's taking the draft, and he's feeling like, okay, no, let's go now. Let's get ready. This is the thing, right? You need every meter, you need every second. So even if he doesn't get past him and get in front of him, it's still a very smart move, because there's no point sitting on Sashavelli's feet, enjoying that draft and finishing and being like, oh, I could have put another half a second or another second on it, because we are probably going to see the medals come down to a second, maybe half a second. It's going to be close. So you need your swimmers to maximize every single meter that they have in the water. And this is really good from Puskovic, you know, pulling up alongside Veli. And this is the kind of fight that I'm talking about we see from some athletes.
No love lost between those two as well, Alice. When you've been leading an athlete for 1,500 meters and then they pull up next to you, you certainly start to think, oh, why did I put in all that effort for that swimmer? And I guess that talks to the competitiveness that we talked about earlier. There is absolutely every man, every woman, every person for themselves out there on the course.
Yes, that is exactly it. It is like, no, this is my swim. I'm going to get in. I'm going to do what I can for myself, for my country. And, you know, at the end, I'm sure we'll have a laugh and a joke. But right now, I really need to do what I can. And thank you for your draft. That's been amazing. But I'm going to sprint past you now. And he's doing a really, really great job of it too.
And what gap do we expect here? What do you think that both the French and USA team need to make sure that they keep the gap through this third leg?
To keep the gap, that is really challenging. Actually, it's always so hard to like really work it out, because there are so many ifs. But I'm thinking 30 to 40 seconds for a comfortable, for the women's from France and America to be like, okay, we're good. What do you think? What do you think?
Oh,
it's hard, right?
That's why I asked. I don't know myself. We get confirmation though. The USA and France lead the way. Clemence Cocodano enters the water for France. In the water, Denigan for the USA. They both now have an opportunity to tuck in, work hard, and then you can just see Marcello Guidi and David Bethlehem dapping each other up. They know what's about to come. For Guidi, he's just hoping to have some space here between him and the chase group. Victoria Mihalvari Farkas coming down for the Hungarians, and she will be chasing very hard to, of course, Ginevra Tarauchi. Who is? Oh, this is the Brazilians coming down as well now. Matheus Maletti has done a fantastic job to bring the Italians really into condition to race here. 50 seconds the gap. Alice, I think you might be on here. Leonardo Brand Di Macedo. Now, he has to actually catch that 50 seconds up and put in a fair bit of distance to the chase group, because Ana Marcela Cunha will go on the anchor there. Erwin tucking in for fourth position. A great job. And here's the one that we're keeping an eye on. Ginevra Tadeucci, 1 minute 11 behind, but what's the gap to the chasers? That was a fantastic leg there. Tactically brilliant by Ginevra Tadeucci.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm just like kind of, nobody else has came through behind her now. She managed to create a 17-second gap on her other like female counterparts on her legs. She's done so well there. That is deadly potentially. If this is where it's kind of their hair among the hounds, so to speak, as a British idiom or phrase would go. It's about getting in and catching up. So we have at the front the two women from the United States and France, and then behind them, everybody else at this point is a man. So they are going to be gunning to just catch up, make up as much ground as possible. Brazil catching them up, it's gonna be close with how much speed we have coming in. Like you said, it's gonna be close for them. I think it is quite a sizable gap, especially over Italy 1 with 1 minute 11 seconds. But at the same time, in open water, anything's possible, especially as the Italian swimmer will have hopefully some people to like lock onto, focus on catching them up, and then keeps trying to skip forward.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out a way to summarize that, Alice. There's like 7 different storylines in the water all at once. You've got the French and the US that are setting up to work with each other here. Then, Guidi really can't afford to let David Bethlehem catch up to him, because the last thing that Dario Varani would want is to enter the water alongside Krzysztof Rozowski, who will anchor home the Hungarians. The Brazilians now just put their heads down and work as hard as possible. And I guess, you look to Logan Fontaine, who's going to enter the water for the final leg for the French team. And really all he wants to is enter the water at the same time as the leading male swimmer at that point, and anything's possible from there. So there is so much going on. And at the front, we see Clemens Cocodano battling with Mariah Denigan of the USA. Brooks Travis, leading the way for the USA. And those two not afraid to commit to it early.
No, that's such a good point, actually. We often see American swimmers being up at the front, and Brooke is one of those swimmers. She's able to do that. She gets in and she knows what it's like to lead. And this is what I was talking about in terms of using swimmers that are familiar with what you're asking them to do in the relay. She knows what it's like to be at the front and lead. She's not afraid of that. You're not putting in a swimmer who likes to be a bit more protected, follow some feet, and then slingshot past. They're better saved up at the back leg in the case in the hope that they are in that pack, they're in that mix, and then they're able to utilize their experience and what they know and what they're good at. So yeah, this is very exciting. This is exactly where both of these teams are hoping to be. I don't know how much coaches probably would have worked out an idea of what kind of lead they need, and I'm wondering if it is enough. We are seeing the Brazilian athlete closing in on them. He will be making up ground, but whether he has enough time and space is yet to be determined.
Well, I think it's always good to look back to the pool over this distance, and for a lot of open water swimmers, they don't ever get the opportunity to race a fresh 1500, so you can't necessarily go off their PBs, but more so the fastest male to fastest female, or non-fastest Katie Ledecky, fastest female. I think Katie Ledecky almost an aberration of the rule here, but if you expect 40 to 50 seconds is usually what we are thinking over the 1500 meter distance if it was in the pool, and then you play that out in the open water, it's hard to tell because there's different lines that come into it, and different experience, different athletes pulling on your hip, etc., but that is just a relatively stock standard rule that we can apply, and I guess that's why it's so exciting. There is so much going on, because if you look at the likes of the anchors here for the Team USA and Team France, even if they were to get caught, that's almost where their anchor athletes would feel most comfortable. Both Gravely and of course Logan Fontaine, exceptionally fast finishers and really like that bunch sprint. And it's such a weird thing to discuss, sorry Alice, but the relay, it is so tactical. It's the first lap, you're really just trying to make sure you get positioning, and if you've got a female athlete in the water, you want them to get some gap. Just getting confirmation there, I think we've got a disqualification from the French team too. So Marc-Antoine Olivier won't be back in this race. And actually, Alice, that is a key thing to talk about. Marc-Antoine Olivier not having to swim his anchor here. Most of the other contenders in the knockout will be racing, and now Marc-Antoine Olivier, no recovery really required now as he gets ready for the knockout.
Oh wow, okay, this is interesting. So let's get into that for a second. Okay, this is kind of like a blessing in disguise for him potentially, but then also kind of a curse, because now the expectation will be like, oh well, Marc-Antoine Olivier didn't have to swim the relay, so he's obviously going to be one of the best. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's like actually added pressure to him now, that he hasn't had to go through what everybody else has gone through. It's like that classic thing in training where, you know, somebody had like Thursday night off, and then there's a hard session Friday morning, and everyone's like, oh well, so and so is going to be fresh because they did. So I feel like Marc-Antoine's going to have to go through that kind of like those emotions. So yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I am now expecting him to, especially the athlete that he is, that fire in him, that drive, I mean, he's been around for so long. Will, he's been around for so long. He's a medalist from Rio, and I know that's like, I'm making that sound like he's old. He's not at all. I'm just trying to say the experience that he has. It's so exciting that we get to see him race time after time, year after year, and it's obviously looking towards LA. So I'm really hoping he can kind of have a better race today than yesterday, and potentially, you know, keep improving on himself, because he's always so exciting to watch.
No, that's exactly right. He is a true champion of the sport, and you can never count him out. He is obviously wouldn't have been stoked with the result yesterday, especially. He led into the race as a heavy favorite for the men's overall ranking, and then obviously came away outside of the top three, finishing second, but with the lead that he was holding in that race to finish 11th, it was a bit disappointing to see. So I guess what I was about to say before, Alice, before we got the news that France 2 was DQ'd, is the relay is so interesting, because that first leg is all about getting your positioning right. If you have a female in the water, you want them to try and get some separation. If you've got a male in the water, you need to get out as far away as possible, as we see now. The Brazilians coming down to chase. Laps 2 and 3 is just about sending the fastest, straightest swimmers in the water, making sure that they swim exactly 1500 meters and not a single stroke extra. And then lap 4, almost all the tactics go out of the door, and it's who's the best finisher. And it's such an interesting evolution to the race, where, you know, previously we would just expect, you know, send the 4 fastest 1500 meter swimmers, and almost expecting to see more pool swimmers come into the race to bring that speed in as well.
Yeah, you're so right. It's one of those things where it's like, people will be like, oh, so why isn't it just like the top 4 1500 swimmers from the country just go, like top 2 women, top 2 men? And I'm kind of like, yeah, in principle it could work if it was done in a pool, absolutely, but in open water it's completely different. It's you still have open water tactics, you still have open water experience that you have to draw upon. You know, for example, you see them on the start line all lined up. You still have to do an open water start. That's exactly the same as the 10K. It's not suddenly you get your own lane, you get your own space. It's exactly the same as the 10K. You have to be able to deal with that. You have to have athletes who are comfortable dealing with that. Now, there are some 1500 swimmers who are comfortable dealing with it. Look at Florian Walbrock, for example. But some aren't. and that's fine. It's just probably not, it might not be for them. But then maybe if you get them an opportunity to have clear water, like we're seeing at the moment with Brooke and Clements, maybe that would be the place that they can sit in. But even still, you have to deal with, okay, I have to cite, whilst we have very flat water here in Golfo Aranci today, it's not always like that. And also you have the looming threat of a man swimming past you, as we're potentially about to see with Brazil. He's caught up very well.
Yeah, he's done a sensational job. I mean, to be fair, the Brazilians have done a really good job all season. They did a good job last season as well. These juniors coming through on the men's side specifically have done incredibly well to take the title the last 2 years. And now Leonardo Brandt de Macedo, the champion of the junior rankings, is imminently going to pass our two lead swimmers. But I guess for Team USA and France, this isn't necessarily the worry they have to keep in mind. The larger threat looms behind Brazil, and that is of course no disregard to who they have in the water. It's just of course Ana Marcela Cunha is going to anchor home the Brazilians, whereas for the Italians, Dario Varani's to come. And I think the other added storyline which we're keeping in mind here, Alice, what is the gap from Guidi, currently sitting in fourth position, back to the Hungarians? We see now that's David Bethlehem, I believe, on the left of your screen, the cameraman just teasing us with a little bit of left arm stroke there.
Yeah, it's like foreshadowing, isn't it? It's like, oh, where is he? Where is he? Yeah, no, this is very much game on for everybody in these medals now. Looking at the gaps, it's really hard to tell sometimes, but it does look like Guidi is like right there with everybody else now. And this is where it's all of a sudden you're like, oh gosh, okay, this is why you want a Logan Fontaine on the last leg. This is why you want someone like that who knows how to cope with that finishing pressure. And you see a little bit more, get a bit more context now. There's a bit more of a gap than the cameras were giving us, but at the same time, and look, I love this. This is Ana Marcela Cunha chatting to the people that she's about to be in the water with. Who knows about what, but I think that's what's so fun about it. It's just like having a man swim with a woman and the mix of it. And you know, Ana Marcela Cunha is going to put up a fight. She's not going to say, "Oh, okay, you're faster than me." She's going to get in and she's going to give it a try and get on their feet, get on their hip, and see what she can make happen. And we're just seeing the Brazilian overtake Team France at the moment, and you know, Clements of France here really looking to kind of utilize him coming past her as much as possible, getting on that hip, getting on that feet, and sticking with him. And he's just about to come back past Brooke Chavis of America as well.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very smart move there from the Brazilian. He pulled out wide, just trying to avoid anything, but Clements Cocodano, she knew that this was the opportunity to get in front of Brooke Chavis, and now the USA athlete coming across the Brazilian as well. This is, I mean, Alice, as an athlete, that you've been in this situation where you've had male athletes in the relay just come past. How do you maximize this momentum? And I guess, you know, almost going 110% for a little bit, just trying to gain a little bit more benefit from that draft that the male athlete brings through.
Yeah, it's difficult because you're in two places. You're in your mind, you're like, oh, that's annoying that they've passed me, but at the same time you don't have time to really process that. You need to focus on getting on their hip, then getting on their feet and not losing contact with their feet. You will get a draft pickup, you will start moving faster, but you need to be like locked into that moment and allow it to happen. As annoying as it is, like I've very much been in that situation, but you need to cope with it and keep moving forward.
Great advice for any youngsters watching along. That's exactly how it's done, and we're seeing a masterclass here by both Travis and Cocodano, just trying to maximize that time with De Macedo out in front. We're seeing some interesting shots just behind Alice. The Italians certainly separating themselves confidently into fourth position, but I think David Bethlehem coming down with a fire of fury.
Yes, you know, David Bethlehem, we saw him put out an amazing swim yesterday, of course, taking home his first individual gold. And Hungary have a great track record of getting on the podium in this relay. So, you know, he's done some really good work to cover up that ground. We are seeing a separation between Brazil and America at this time. So this is where it's going to be crucial. This is where Ana Marcela Cunha has a real like challenge on her hands, she'll probably know that she might get caught, but that's where she needs to like stick in and make something happen.
Exactly how that happens is going to be very interesting here. We've especially Ana Marcela Cunha. She's so exceptional at maximizing the time when athletes are shooting forward, especially male athletes. We've seen it time and time again, especially in the 25 kilometers when that was at the World Championships. The most decorated swimmer over that distance in the history of the sport, Ana Marcela Cunha, and I guess she'll be leaning on that experience in this race. Here we have our chase swimmer. That is Marcelo Guidi. He's almost made the feat of the French, and that is a very key gap to make up as well. You're talking about Dario Verani and Logan Fontaine set to enter the water. If Guidi can get ahead of the French athletes and even open up 5-10 seconds, it's going to make life incredibly difficult here for Logan Fontaine. And that's the move that we're seeing on screen now, Alice. This is Italy making the move past France and pulling very wide to make it happen.
Yes, this is where he's like, look, I'm going to respect you, I'm going to give you a space, but you're also not getting my draft. Like, I don't need to fight to get past you. I know I'm going to be comfortable going past you. And this is the kind of respect that I was talking about earlier. Like, whilst it's open water swimming, you don't need to get in and get physical. Like, what purpose is there for him as a man, an Italian man, fighting with a French woman? Do you know what I mean? So really good to see that kind of respect coming out. But Brazil going to be taking this lead, going into it and handing over to the legend that is Ana Marcela Cunha. It's really exciting for them, and I'm hoping she can make something of this. She raises her arms to the sky, and it's going to take a good leg, hopefully.
Yeah, it's a big final lap from Ana Marcela Cunha. Brazil lead the way. Italy going to now be in second. So Dario Verani will head off on his merry way. The last lap, USA enters through Gravely. Logan Fontaine as well. And Krzysztof Rozowski has entered the water. So what a swim there from David Bethlehem. There was 14 seconds the difference between Italy and Hungary after that second lap. Victoria Mihail-Varoufakis as well as Ginevra Tadeucci equaling that result. But now we set up this final lap, and unfortunately for Ana Marcela Cunha, there's no scarier sight than if she was to turn around right now and see Dario Verani, Dylan Gravely, Logan Fontaine and Krzysztof Rozowski all set to take to this last lap.
Yeah, again, speaking from experience, I've been in the situation that Ana Marcela Cunha's been in. I haven't had a pack behind me like that, but honestly, it is terrifying. I know Ana Marcela Cunha has far more experience than me and more experience than I had at that stage, but it is daunting. You know, you're swimming, you're trying your hardest. You know, I don't have the energy to look back. I shouldn't be looking back, but at the same time, I know this threat is coming, and you start to sense them come around you. So, I mean, look at this turn buoy. This is what I was talking about the point of not having necessary pool swimmers in there, because these are open water skills. Like, look at the pack that's formed here, and you know, Ana Marcela Cunha very much holding her own at the moment. She's not going to make it easy for them to get past her, but she actually looks really good here, Will. Like, this is taking them much longer than I would have anticipated.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's calling on all of that experience, but I think we've just seen a big move there from Logan Fontaine as well, shooting around Dario Verani. Verani looking very comfortable, but he's opened the door here for Bethlehem. Oh, Alice, this is exactly what I was dreaming about of all the 10Ks all season. The big, strong boys on the final lap. This has set it up exactly the way that classic open water swimming has always been swum in the men's race.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right. It's like a mini treat for the 10 about like, oh, we actually get like this concentrated, you know, Logan Fontaine, Krzysztof Rozowski, Dario Verani getting in there and having to like mix it out. We've got Dylan Gravely put in there too, and our Spanish athlete as well. And, you know, Ana Marcela Cunha in that mix as well. It's very special. I think this is what's so fun about the relay. It ends up creating situations, creating scenarios that you kind of go, oh, that would be a really good training set. I'd love to see that happen. And now we're actually getting treated to it. And I love how every country kind of had that tactic of putting their stronger swimmers at the back end, because it has literally, it was a great foreshadowing from them, or a great expectation from them that it's going to create this kind of pack swim. And Ana Marcela Cunha, I can't think of like a better athlete than to have in this mix to just get stuck in there. She's not necessarily the fastest woman, but she knows how to swim in a pack. She knows how to utilize that space and make things happen for herself. And you can see how her stroke technique has changed actually to cope with the fact that the men are coming around her now.
Yeah, and I love it. She's just tucked in the perfect position and just fighting with these athletes as well. She's actually just dropped one of, I think it's the Spanish athlete that just had to drop behind and say, I'm not trying to swim up alongside Ana Marcela Cunha. You can see just pulling now behind the back of this pack. But interesting to note, Alice, the pace has yet to come on in this race. No one necessarily wanting to commit to it, and that's why it's gone into this sort of dart formation with Fontaine holding the lead. You can see he's not really engaging those legs. He's not really driving the arms. He knows, Alice, as we all know, this is going to be a sprint finish, so he's going to save his energy. And I guess it's a hard one to tell here, because the easier that he swims, the more energy that the field saves as well.
Yeah, there are actually so many things at play here. So got the 10 yesterday. There'll be some fatigue from that, so you don't really want to overcook yourself. But you've also got the 3K knockout looming in a mere like 5 hours or so for these athletes. So you're kind of sat here thinking, okay, do I need to make this harder than it is? Or can I just save it up for the sprint finish? And what I love about the athletes that are mixed in with this is they're all athletes that like the sprint finish. They're all athletes that absolutely back themselves in that finish funnel. And that's what's so fun about it. You know, even with like Ana Marcela Cunha as a woman, I'm sat here thinking, hey, if you give her room in the finish funnel, even as men, I really think she can create something special and create an opportunity. There's not a better woman that I can think of on the circuit to make that happen. So I know we're kind of like waiting for these meters to like fold away here. We're not having a Florian Wellbrock moment where, you know, he's going to get in and he's going to make everyone swim hard and he's going to take it out fast. Logan Fontaine, he looks good, he looks smooth, and I think everybody's just kind of patiently waiting for that opportunity to find their space down the last straight and make something happen.
No, that's exactly the way it is. It's really traditional open water swimming, and I absolutely love to see it. This is, you know, if you've been listening to us all year, this is exactly the way that I think that the men's race should be swum. And I would really encourage any listener around the world to go back and check out the 2008 Olympics marathon swimming, the introduction of the 10K to the Olympic Games for open water swimming, where of course Martin van der Weyden took the gold in that race ahead of David Davies of Great Britain, and great Thomas Lurs took the bronze. It's about 8.5, 9K of casual swimming, and then an all-out dogfight down that final straight. And I think that's what we're setting up here, Alice. And you can see even on the left of screen now, in the blue Spanish cap, we have currently Mario Mendez in the water. And Mario Mendez is not necessarily a swimmer who's found himself in this company in previous races, and it's really taking a toll on him. He's getting battered, bruised, all in of course good faith of the rules of the sport, but he's just having to stop, fix his goggles. That's an indication of, I guess, the pace coming out, but the physicality that's entered into the conversation.
Yeah, and you know, that's such a good way of putting it as well, that he's not potentially typically in these situations. And this is why it's so important that countries, when you do come to World Cups, if you have the teams to field, put them in the relay, get your athletes in the 3K knockout. They're kind of like, as I said, like mini scenarios or like condensed scenarios of what happens in the 10K. And if your country's aims are, we want Olympic medals, then why aren't you taking the opportunities to put athletes in all of the races that the best in the world are racing in, as well as racing in the 10? It just doesn't make sense to me. Sorry, I'm really passionate about this, because like when you have these opportunities to race the best in the world and you know they're going to be doing the 5K, the 3K knockout, the relay, you should be putting your athletes in there as well, because there's a reason that they're winning medals and also doing all of the other events as well. But anyway, it is great experience for all athletes when you're in these scenarios, when, you know, you've got Dario Verani sat next to Krzysztof Rosowski, and I'm sure that's a situation that they're both familiar with. But it will just continue building up their experience and building up their knowledge of of what they know and what that feels like.
Yeah, I mean, can't rate that highly enough. And I guess it's been good to see the athlete experience being introduced this year, but really we want to see more federations continuing to back this sport. I think we've just seen a change of speed here. It's a smart move from Logan Fontaine to put some effort into the turn, just create some chaos behind, and he's done exactly that. Rozovsky he was not in the strong position there, but he showed Dario Verani exactly why he is an Olympic champion on that turn.
Yeah, it's quite funny because all of these men are like immovable objects. So you've got like Logan Fontaine, Krzysztof Rozovsky, Dario Verani. Like, you see the size of their arms, their biceps, their lats. They're all kind of like immovable objects. So I'm just like, what happens when you get three men like that? Like down this finish funnel, it's going to be so exciting. And that's what they're setting up for now. You see Krzysztof Rozovsky pulling alongside the hip of Logan Fontaine. We are going to be treated to something very special, and it's happening right now.
Oh, I'm so excited. I mean, Alice, you know I've been talking about this all year, to see the three biggest boys in the field battling down this final straight. And let's not count out Mario Mendez and, of course, Dylan Gravely. I think credit to Ana Marcela Cunha, but she's just falling off this pack with the injection of speed. Smart, really, by, of course, our leader there in Logan Fontaine, just pulling away to take Ana Marcela Cunha out of it, because, as you said, Alice, anything could happen in that final straight. But yeah, this is mouth-watering. This is why I love this sport.
Oh, yeah, and just again, big shout out to Ana Marcela Cunha. You might not get an opportunity to speak about her again in this race, but I mean, what she has done there is really, really special. I know the pace wasn't as fast, but still, you know, men swimming at, you know, a threshold pace, and she's been able to sit in there, tuck in there, and she's not going anywhere. She's not resigning herself. You know, you can see that fire, that fight that is in her, and that's why she's a legend of the sport. She's one of the best we'll ever see. So huge props to her for making the men, for getting in there and like holding her own and looking like she's one of them in these moments.
Yeah, I mean, let's as we get ready for this final straight, let's just spend one more moment on Ana Marcela Cunha, because this will be the first year, unless she comes through in the 3 kilometer knockout, the first year where she hasn't won a medal at the World Cup since 2009. Like, that is unbelievable to think of. Like, 81 international medals. It's a tough conversation to have, who is the GOAT, but Alice, where does Ana Marcela rank for yourself?
I mean, wow. I mean, that's a track record that is something. I mean, I was just looking through the start list. We have a swimmer from Chinese Taipei 2 that was born in 2009, another swimmer born in 2011, and another swimmer born in 2010. So just for context, like, there are people that Ana Marcela Cunha is now swimming against that were born when she was winning medals at this stage. That is the length and the longevity of her career. It's really, really special. So I mean, this is the thing. I believe there can be multiple GOATs. I know that doesn't make sense, like greatest of all time, but there are so many different ways of approaching the sport. Ana Marcela Cunha's approached the sport with a sense of dominance and continuation of longevity, and it's just so special. And it's been a pleasure to watch and a pleasure to race against.
There it is, one of the best to ever do it. Just falling off the back of the pack now, but as you said, Alice, a monumental effort. We see one of the back marker swimmers just swimming down the middle of the course, trying to get a front row seat into what is going to be a mouth-watering finish. And let's turn our attention to that now. Still leading the way, Logan Fontaine. He has Krzysztof Rozovsky now taking the lead. Dario Verani in the Italian cap closest to camera at the moment. The French cap there is Logan Fontaine. On the outside of the course, Dylan Gravely. Don't count him out either. Of course, he loves these situations. Krzysztof Rozovsky, though, almost with a point to prove in this race, Alice. He hasn't had the best 2025 after what was a sensational 2024, but he looks really strong and in control at this point.
Yeah, definitely. You know, he's making a statement here. He's created a bit of a gap behind him and behind everyone asks, yeah, he's got some looking like clear water at the moment. You know, he's really taking his time. I don't think as like good as in the finish arc that he is. Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm just remembering Ibiza. Of course, Ibiza. So I keep mentioning Ibiza because that was kind of Logan Fontaine, and I think Krzysztof Rosowski potentially getting into a little bit of a push and a shove, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, Will. And
Yeah.
he doesn't want a repeat of that. You know, you don't want to hand that over to Dario Varani. He'll be like, okay, I actually don't need to utilize my strength here. But look at Dylan Gravely as well, pulling up alongside and, you know, finding some space for himself.
Yeah, he's not wanting to leave anything, trying. Of course, the gold medal or any medal isn't necessarily expected to go to the USA here, so almost playing with a bit of house money. He knows that he needs to put himself in a position to fight hard. Logan Fontaine would have to be one of the fastest finishers in the world, and he's just trimmed back a bit with Mario Mendez on his outer. But interesting to note, Dario Varani closing that little gap that was open there by Krzysztof Rosowski. Another home crowd ahead for the Italians. They'll be cheering them on. The reigning champions here from Golfo Aranci, and he's just pulled out a little bit, opening the door there for Logan Fontaine. The hope being, of course, that he can catch onto the hip of Krzysztof Rosowski. Alice, at this point in the race, what's going through the athletes' heads and how is it going to play out here?
So for Krzysztof, I think he can obviously sense around him that he's got some clear feet. He's not going to feel anybody on his feet. He might feel some splash on the surface of his feet as his feet leave the water, but he's very much focusing on going forward. He's not going to want anyone to come past him. And the fun thing about Krzysztof Rosowski is when he's in a position like this, it's going to be very hard to get around him. He knows how to respond to challenges from other athletes. In terms of Logan Fontaine, this is kind of an interesting point. He obviously was leading for a while, probably felt good and comfortable, but now the speed's picked up. He might be feeling the 10K yesterday. You know, he did really well yesterday, hanging on to David Bethlehem and making things happen for him and getting an amazing silver medal and creating so many great opportunities for him. But in these moments, this is where his tactical mind is going to be going into overdrive and, you know, finding that opportunity to get in those gaps. And that's exactly what he's done here. And you do not want to let that happen if you are Gravely or the Spanish athlete here, because he opened that door and now all of a sudden he's like surged forward and the bronze medal is etching further and further away from you.
Yeah, so well put there, Alice. And as you were saying it, we're even seeing some more movement now coming from Dario Varani. He knows he needs to get onto the hip of the Hungarian. Krzysztof Rosowski doing everything he can to react and keep that hip away. That is the race right there. If Varani gets onto the hip of Krzysztof Rosowski, all 5 swimmers get brought back into the race, and with 300 meters or less left now to swim, it's all on the line. Interesting to note, Varani just pulling away. He doesn't want to sit directly next to Rosowski. I wonder what that's about. And here we can see Logan Fontaine fighting through the middle, Alice. It's all guns blazing for our top 3.
Yeah, I think Varani's just trusting himself to have his own speed. He believes that, yes, I've got the fast enough speed. I know I've got another gear to move to. I actually don't want Rosowski to pull over and get on my hip, because that's when all of a sudden I get pulled back into this fight. And oh gosh, Logan Fontaine's pulling up alongside it as well.
Yeah, Fontaine now onto the hip of Rosowski, Varani, and they're squeezing them into the deck. So the race of the big men, the 3 across, Varani in the black, Fontaine in the middle, Rosowski in the white on the right. Here we go, and into the finish line. It's nothing separating the top 3. Fontaine pushes Varani across and he gets the win. Logan Fontaine played that like an expert and he gets the gold medal for France. I believe Varani in second. Rosowski has to settle for third, ultimately with his own water, playing up to all the expectation. Tactical brilliance down that final finish shoot, and gold gets the way of France. They get gold through Fontaine. What a weekend he's had on the podium in the 10, the overall champion, and now he joins his team on top. We look at a replay, and Alice, that was expert-like.
Wow. I mean, honestly, at one point in the last 400 meters, I thought Logan Fontaine's actually going to have to be fighting for third. I thought that would what that would be what would happen between France, Spain, and America. I really was like, oh, okay, might be a bit cooked. That 10K might have taken it out. Wow, what a way to prove me wrong and to put all my doubts aside. Absolutely incredible. Just finding that extra gear, and he's really cementing himself. As one of those athletes that don't ever count him out. He will find time and he will find space. And if you give him that opportunity, he's going to be absolutely deadly in that finish funnel. Huge congratulations to him, amazing. And to Varani and to Rozovsky as well, put on a really an amazing show for us.
Oh, I love that. And Bethlehem as well to swim through and make that race happen. I mean, you were talking about 3 different tactics that came down to less than a second separating the top 3 athletes. You see Sashavelli there, happy with the team's performance. In the hands now, Ignacy Vendrell, I believe. We're just waiting for the official results to be confirmed as we see Italy Team 2 now across the line as well. But it's worth the price of admission, Alice, when we get to race the big boys down that finish line. You're talking about some of the best finishers in the world. You maybe throw Kyle Lee in there as well to be in contention, maybe even Domenico Azzorenza. I love to see it. I love to see it. And you could see, even though, the two of what we think is the top 2, the French and the Italians, not necessarily stoked with the way that race played out between Fontaine and Varani. There was still all love after the finish.
Yes, you're so right. It's one of those things where I just think with open water, we're fortunate we get so many opportunities to have these races, to get in and have those opportunities that, you're like, okay, well, this one didn't go quite my way, potentially. I mean, I'd still be really happy with a medal in either of those instances, but it's all about growing that experience and getting those opportunities, looking towards the World Championships. So, gosh, it isn't 2 years' time, but at that point, and you'll be able to draw on all of these experiences. And the tactics, I just want to get into the tactics because it is really interesting how we did have something different from France. And we really have to shout out Zuis and Coccodano there for what they were able to do in terms of putting themselves in positions, Zuis setting up Sashavelli to have an amazing leg, and then Coccodano mitigating very well a lot of the pressure from the other countries with the men. So, really set up Logan Fontaine to do what he does best, and he executed it perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that so many different tactics can go into a result like that, right? There's so many people at play, and shout out to Team USA, where you see Ivan Puskovic on screen currently, but also the Spaniards with Mario Mendez just holding on that finish line as well. And then Ana Marcela Cunha, who finished in 6th position for the Brazilians. Like, it's sensational swimming. This is why we get so excited by the mixed 4x1500 relay, and equally so that 3-kilometer knockout can be so good, but sometimes it's good to get back to the relay where the racing is incredible.
Yeah, you're so right. And I'm just sat here being like, oh, that was amazing. And then we have 2 more races to come this afternoon, with the 50, the 3K knockouts, with the 15, the 1000, and then the 500. We have basically 6 races to come this afternoon, where it's going to be fast, it's going to be intense. There's going to be some fatigue in there as well. And it'll just be so interesting to see if that does start to play into it, especially some of the athletes that haven't had to race the 3K knockout. I'm looking at Moesha Johnson, Claudia Tarshevitz, and we get to hear from our athletes now.
Down here. Was that the start you wanted? It was a very quick pace in the first lap, wasn't it?
But I mean, I didn't start really good. I got stuck in the first buoy, but then I tried to make my own way and pass on the side. So yeah, pretty happy. And I mean, it's a teamwork. Everyone did the best they could, so it's great.
You got them off to a good start. So you said you don't want to talk to me, but we're going to talk to you anyway. The next one in, you've got a bit of work to do. There was a big gap in that first leg. What was your race like?
Yeah, it's a good. I love push. It's a good. Yes, I'm very happy.
No, I'm not excusing your English. It's absolutely fine. Clemence, you're in third. There's still work to do, but I think in your mind, you just wanted to give this man as much time as he could get.
Yeah, the plan was to catch booked fits, so it was a little bit hard at the end when the guys were with us. So I tried to push to be with the Brazilian guy and then Italian, but I was like, it's a little bit odd, but it was really cool.
We're going to come to the man of the hour. We're going to swim right across here. Overall winner as well yesterday. It's been a very, very good weekend for you, but you had a great team to help you win today.
Yeah, we have a really good weekend, but it's not finished. We have also the 3K this afternoon. With all the exciting from yesterday, the wake up was really hard this morning. So I tried just to manage myself to do a good sprint because it was really strategic with these guys. And yeah, it's really good for the team. I'm really happy.
There you go. That's the tagline for the weekend. The wake up today was very hard. Well done, France, team one. Give them a big cheer.
Facciamo un applauso forte alla squadra francese.
What a team that was, Alice, and what a race it was as well. Great to hear from the athletes, especially Logan Fontaine confirming quite a tactical race, and ultimately the tactics paid off.
Yeah, and I love that he kind of mentioned the emotional, like he alluded to it, or that's what I read into it, of like, it was hard to wake up this morning. Like, it was probably hard to go to sleep, and then it was probably quite hard to wake up because excitement, emotion, takes home the series win, gets a silver medal, and then has to like turn up and show up for his team today. And I think he's definitely cementing himself as the man of the weekend, really putting out some, I just love how he trusted in his ability. He didn't panic. And I think, you know, if you want to really understand open water swimming, I think that last straight, if you just go back and watch that and watch the toing and throwing that was happening, and you can see each athlete really trying to play to their strength as much as possible. So yeah. I believe this is an Italian. Unfortunately, I do not speak Italian, so I cannot translate for you. But great to see our Italian athletes getting an opportunity to speak to their home audience. We see Dario Verani here, getting that opportunity probably to thank the crowd and you know, and make a name for themselves in their country.
In questa staffetta ormai hai raggiunto anche il podio al mondiale. Com'è andata qua in Sardegna invece?
Era molto simile al mondiale dal punto di vista che c'erano le donne in acqua e dovevo andare a recuperare. Per cui diciamo che la fatica è stata tanta perché sicuramente la forma non è quella di luglio, però è stata bella. Alla fine quando ci giochiamo qualcosa al tocco è molto difficile. Dario è stato bravissimo a stare lì e veramente 2 decimi e niente, però in questo sport è così.
Un'apertura straordinaria anche di Linda Caponi, una praticamente new entry all'interno dell'Ital Fondo. Buongiorno Linda, benvenuta. Come hai vissuto questa prima frazione di staffetta?
Buongiorno a tutti, direi bene, sono molto contenta di aver fatto parte di questa staffetta, ho cercato di dare tutto e ho cercato di dare un buon cambio a Ginevra.
Un buon cambio a Ginevra, soprattutto sappiamo che giocheremo delle belle carte come Italia con te nella 3 km knockout. Cosa abbiamo da aspettarci da Linda Caponi?
Ma io penso che darò tutto tutte le energie che ho e poi vediamo oggi pomeriggio.
Va bene, un applauso fortissimo anche alla nostra Linda e chiamo quella che ieri ci ha regalato tantissimi successi, che in questa stagione ha regalato risultati meravigliosi. Una seconda frazione di Ginevra Tadeucci, com'è andata Gine?
Faticosa, molto faticosa. Devo dire, ma come ho detto anche all'intervista, fare la staffetta è sempre un po' complicato perché comunque è l'ultima delle gare sia ai mondiali agli europei e comunque viene sempre dopo a 10 km, quindi la fatica ovviamente si fa sentire, però è sempre bello perché è la mia gara preferita, è in squadra, è l'unica gara che possiamo fare tutti insieme ed è meraviglioso.
Senti, adesso ti vediamo nella 3 km knockout oppure ti vai un po' a riposare?
A sorpresa.
A sorpresa, quindi non diciamo niente. Applauso fortissimo al nostro quartetto azzurro, Dario Verani, Marcello Guidi, Linda Caponi, Ginevra Tadeucci. Grazie ragazzi, io vi lascio.
Great to hear from our athletes there at the end of the 4x1500m mixed relay. Of course, bear with us here as we get ready for the medal presentation. We'll quickly look back at some of the highlights of the race. As you can see, leading off early was the USA team. They got to the front and ultimately lap one did not look like going any other way.
Yes, yeah. Colin Jacobs from America there having a great showing, and we just saw the American team, the American two, the junior team finish just as the interview with France was happening. So I'm really really excited for their prospects for juniors. They've clearly have a great track record from it in 2024. So really looking forward to seeing what they can do in 2026, and hopefully learning some more names and some more storylines for the future.
I'm sure Colin Jacobs will have his eyes on that one, Alice, and I'm sure we'll recall this moment next year, calling all the action in, of course, the Junior World Championship set to come. Ultimately, it was a very tactical race, and we saw that change of lead ebb and flow throughout. That overhead shot there of the changeover exceptionally, doing an exceptional job of painting just how chaotic it was. That's an interesting shot there to see that Sashavelli actually had a bit of a gap on Ivan Puskovic on that turn, and yet Puskovic managed to fight his way through. He's really having a sensational year this year.
Yeah, it's really good to see within this, whilst the main story will be like Logan Fontaine and Team France and how they've executed this so well tactically. But as always, there will be so many strong points which athletes have done within the race that we might not even get to spot on camera. But a great call from you from about Ivan Puskovic there. He really had a great leg, coming up alongside the side of Sashavelli, and it's one of those things that just will help him grow as an individual athlete as well as Team USA. It's understanding that in the future, when you do see Sashavelli up at the front, that you have experience in taking him on and putting yourself in that position, and that you can be there too. So we're just seeing. As you look at oh, bless how tired the athletes are after their leg. It's really really challenging, and you put down such strong efforts.
You certainly do, and Marcelo Guidi left nothing in the tank at the end of that one. This now the final lap of that relay. You can see earlier on it was Logan Fontaine leading out, Dario Varani, Christoph Rozovsky tucked in third position. It was a great battle. Ana Marcela Cunha really putting her best foot forward for Brazil in a lead pack of 5 men, and Ana Marcela Cunha, she battled all the way through that opening straight, but ultimately it was a big move here by Logan Fontaine and Christoph Rozovsky through the two far turns that set up this final straight. Varani and Fontaine positioned well, with Rozovsky out in front. Fontaine almost falling out of the mix, as you called in the moment, Alice, but when it came to the getting busy, Fontaine managed to find a way forward alongside Varani, Rozovsky, and ultimately into the sprint line. Now Fontaine playing that perfectly, sitting in the middle and pushing Varani wide to take the gold for Team France. Italy gets silver, and Hungary settle for the bronze. What a race it was, the mixed 4x1500 meter relay. As we mentioned, Alice, we'll be back very shortly for the medal presentation of the 4x1500 meter relay. And of course, plenty of action still to come today. My name is Will Roller, joined once again by Alice Deering. We hope
Signore e signori, accogliamo con un applauso la cerimonia di premiazione della staffetta mista.
So I believe we head back to the medal presentation area this time for the mixed 4x1500m relay. Alice, we touched on it before, just before we head to medals. There's plenty of racing left today, and we've talked about it pre-show. This is one of the hardest doubles we've ever seen on the World Cup Series.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So, 10K yesterday, that's one thing. Getting back in and doing the relay. Athletes are used to this by now. It's quite common. It's been common on the World Cup circuit for a number of years now that you've got the 10K followed by the relay the next day. Fine. But then a couple hours after this, we have both of the 3K knockouts. And that is some of the hardest racing I think athletes will ever do is like the 3K knockout. Because, you know, you've got that 1500 very hard effort, 1000 and then 500. It's just so challenging. It's so fantastic to watch. And the feedback from athletes has been really positive and really great to hear from them too. So I'm sure at the moment they're all behind the scenes, potentially getting back to the hotel, getting some rest, getting some food in, getting rehydrated and making sure they're resting up well because there are still medals to be won in a few hours' time.
We get to see that play out very shortly, and thanks for that breakdown once again, Alice. Here we have our bronze medalists, the team representing Hungary. What a team it was. Rozovsky on the anchor. David Bethlehem went third. Victoria Vihavarivakas went second. And Napsuga Nagy took the lead. A fantastic result for the bronze.
Yes, definitely. No, I'm just taking into account the height of Krzysztof Rozovsky. You know, you don't get to see that typically in the water, but great shots there. And seeing Team Italy raise their hands up in their home crowd is really fantastic. And huge congratulations to all of our medalists.
So the Italians in second there: Caponi, Tadaucci, Guidi, and Varani. Fantastic silver medal, just edged out 0.1 separating silver and gold, 0.8 to bronze, so less than a second across the top three. The team that wins, though, ultimately the French team we see now on stage: Wish, Veli, Coccodano, and Fontaine. This is an incredible podium.
Yes, there's so much experience, so much talent and hard work across this whole podium. You know, we see it a lot. You know, Hungary are just always on this podium, as are the Italians, as are the French. You know, they're really consistent, strong, and you know, it might not always be the same teams that are turning up, but the fact that they're able to field such depth across, you know, 4 fantastic swimmers in open water year after year, circuit after circuit, and cup after cup is really special.
So on screen now, our gold medalists from the mixed relay 4x1500 meters. The French team have had a fantastic meet, and as we talked about during the race, unfortunately French team 2 being disqualified. We'll see the impact that has on the rest of the program later on this afternoon, but for now we pay respects for our podium in the mixed 4x1500 relay, and we get ready to hear a very proud French national anthem.
Signore e signori, per coloro che possono, vi chiediamo di alzarvi in piedi per celebrare i vincitori ascoltando l'inno nazionale francese.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise if you're able for the national anthem of France. Make some noise for your mixed relay
And with
medal
that,
winner.
France takes the gold here in Golfo Aranci. Another brilliant performance from a team that's been near unstoppable all season. Congratulations as well to all our medalists. The teamwork, precision, and spirit on display today perfectly captures what this event is all about. A big thank you to my co-commentator Alice Deering, to the entire Water Aquatics team, our officials, and of course to everyone watching around the world. We're just getting started here in Sardinia. Join us again in a couple of hours for the 3-kilometer knockout sprint, where the season wraps up with pure speed and plenty of drama. From Golfo Aranci, I'm Will Rollo. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you very soon.
So a huge thank you for joining us here this morning for the mixed medley relay. Don't forget, we've got our sprint race at 3 o'clock, the start of that race, 3 o'clock this afternoon. So join us again when some of the world's best take part in our final race of the World Cup season.
E con questa premiazione si conclude la prima parte del nostro programma. Non resta che salutarvi e ringraziarvi. Vi diamo appuntamento al pomeriggio per la nuovissima gara, la novità di World Aquatics, la 3 km knockout. Partiremo con il settore maschile alle 15, poi il settore femminile gareggerà alle 17. Ci vediamo tutti qua. Grazie a tutti, buon pranzo, buon proseguimento di giornata e a più tardi.